My heart is in.
Alright, this is BoxingWave. Let's talk Catchweights. I want to finally really talk about this. Um, is Catchweights bad for boxing? It's not bad for boxing. I wouldn't say bad. It just the sport is evolving and the culture is much different. When you want to make the argument of all-time greats and you want to compare eras, you cannot ignore the catchweight argument. You cannot do it under no circumstances. You cannot just ignore it. You can't ignore it. Regardless of who you like from today, if you want to throw Mayweather in the mix, and this is what I said before when Mayweather and Ali and everybody was doing that thing again, because it's always going to keep coming back around. If you think Mayweather is the greatest or the best of whatever or whatever, I think he's one of the best talents I've ever seen, without a doubt. As far as what I see from him in the ring, pound for pound, he is one of the most talented I've ever seen, without a doubt. But you have to bring the discussion up of the fact that there are double the amount of divisions, and now there are catchweights. You got guys fighting in between the double amount of divisions. Junior middleweight, the difference between junior middleweight and middleweight is 6 pounds, okay? And people, you got fighters out here like Canelo Alvarez and Miguel Cotto that cannot stick to the weight limit. They don't want to go up and fight anyone, and they can't even fight guys like Canelo Alvarez. He cannot fight K9. He can't fight Demetrius Andre for their titles because he cannot make weight. He's fought at 155 3 times in a row, but he doesn't want to go to 160. Same thing with Danny Swift Garcia. Okay, Adrian Broner, he's having these issues. He had to fight at 141. Whether it's a pound or whether it's a few pounds, these guys do not want to fight at any division. They're making up their own weights and they're creating new divisions at this point. You cannot ignore catchweights. You can't. Can't ignore it. When you're comparing eras, if we want to stick to today's boxing, then we can stick to that, okay? Because I mean, it's just is what it is today. The sport is a different sport, whether you love it still or not. It's a different sport today, okay? More fighters have control in what goes on inside that ring before they even get in the ring. They have more control even while they're in the ring. Fighters have more control of what happens during negotiations. If you're the A side and the B side, Miguel Cotto is moving up to fight Sergio Martinez, who was the current middleweight champion, the lineal middleweight champion. He's moving up to fight him at his division, and Miguel Cotto is calling all of the shots because he is the A side, okay? This is a different era of boxing. Whether you like it or not, it's still entertaining because we all still watch it, still love it. I sit here and make videos. I watch the fights. We all still love it. But if you're comparing eras, there's no way you can just ignore the fact that there's catchweights today. If Henry Armstrong could hold titles in 3 different divisions simultaneously when there weren't no junior divisions, he had basically held titles in 6 divisions at one time. That's what we're saying here. Because he had to jump 2 weight classes every single time to fight the champ in that weight class. You know, I mean, you cannot ignore that. Floyd Mayweather, I can sit here and say that he's the best talent ever, but you can't just ignore the circumstances these fighters had to go to in the past. And this is why we should not compare eras. You know, it's good for argument's sake, but you cannot just ignore it. You can't ignore it. You can't ignore it. You know, I was listening to Blood Boxing the other day, and I respect Blood. He know I respect him. You know, I talk about his channel all the time. There's a mutual respect there. I don't think he likes Floyd Mayweather. I really know. It's pretty obvious that he doesn't like Floyd, right? He doesn't think that he has, for whatever reason. But I'm listening to his video, and he makes a good point, and he does every time. The circumstances that these fighters in the past, what they had to go through, it's a lot harder to really stay undefeated with the challenges that they were taking. Okay, it's just, it was a different time. Whether or not you think Floyd is as great or better than these guys from the past, it's cool. If you think Floyd is pound for pound better than Ali or Sugar Ray Robinson, if you think that, that's fine. That's your opinion. Because I think regardless, Floyd is an all-time great. He would have to be. He's the greatest in this era. So how can you not put him up there for debate? You have to. But for the people that think it's ridiculous for a fan to not think Floyd is the greatest, you cannot sit here and ignore the circumstances, that the conditions that these fighters had to fight in their time. Because everything is totally different now. You know, you decide on the corner you want, the gloves you want, your opponent's gloves, the weight that you want, fight in any kind of weight. You know, you could be a champion at one division, fight in a weight class, a catch weight above the limit, and still hold on to your belt multiple times today. You can do that today. You know, certain fighters, they'll strip you of your title, and certain other fighters, they don't. They just, the sanctioning bodies do whatever they want. Like I said, I don't think catch weight is bad for boxing, because it's here now. It's here, and it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. When it comes to negotiating, it's sky's the limit today. Okay? I think Floyd had played a major part of it. Listen, it's brought him much success. Obviously, look how rich he is right now. It's brought him much success, and I can't blame him. But even before he did it, you hear him say all the time, when I fought Oscar was the biggest star at the time. I fought under his conditions. So now when he became the man, he started making fights under his conditions. And it's going to go so on and so on. Now you got these guys that's on the come up that hasn't done anywhere near the amount of work, or put the amount of work that either one of those guys put in. And now they're all doing it. You know, they're on the come up still. And they're already like, you know, Amir Khan going into the Devin Alexander fight. I see him in the press conferences talking about, oh, these fights are on my terms. I'm the A side. Like, dude, nobody asked you. You're fighting Devin Alexander on a regular Showtime card. This is not a pay-per-view. Why are you talking about whose terms is what? Nobody asked you. We're fighting on my terms. So what? You fighting Devin Alexander. Devin Alexander never fought in Vegas before. I'm not trying to diss Devin, but I'm just saying, this is no super fight. It's a good fight, but this is not no super fight. We're in a different era in boxing. It's all about, just like we're in a social media era, okay? Just like social media has an impact on everything, especially when it comes to sports of all genres. It's that's the era that we're in today. So catch weights, I mean, listen, I'm like the type where I support when I choose to support. And I don't really support the catch weight thing, like when it comes to titles, because unless it's like a dream match and you're moving up in weight, and you know you got to move up, and you're not gonna move all the way up. I mean, I would, of course, I would love for Golovkin or Floyd, if they're gonna fight each other, I would love Floyd to go and fight Golovkin at his own weight. It's not gonna happen if they do fight. It's not gonna happen. It's gonna be at a catch weight, without a doubt. But for guys like Danny Swift Garcia and Lamont Peterson, this would be a unification match, and you're fighting over 3 pounds. You guys are both naturally at 140, and you guys are just fighting 3 pounds over the weight limit, and you're not defending your titles. And for the sanctioning bodies to allow that. But see, this the problem. Another problem with this too is that all these fighters are taking step aside money to to sit out on certain fights. Wasn't Victor Postol supposed to fight Danny Garcia? He took step aside money. You know, I'm hearing Cotto might try to get Forrest Golovkin to take step aside money so he can fight Canelo. You know, I mean, uh, same thing happened recently with what's this guy at 160? I can't remember his name right now. But listen, you guys get the point. Catch weights are here, and it's not gonna stop. It's not gonna stop. Uh, so I'm gonna be realistic here and just accept it because it's not going to stop. You know, you see all these PBC fights. A lot of them are catch weights. It is what it is. It's here now. You know, if Sean Porter and Adrian Broner fight, I wouldn't be surprised if that's at a catch weight. You know, at a lower catch weight where Broner can make 140. If it's a few pounds over 140, it'll work for him. Sean Porter have to come down to make it more even. Like, there's only 7 pound difference between weight classes here. Wasn't Sean Porter fighting at middleweight at one point? I could be wrong, but it's ridiculous. It's getting ridiculous. Adrian Broner, the way he walks around, because he gets out of shape when he's not fighting. You know, he weighs way above the junior welterweight division. It's just getting ridiculous. You know, I really believe that a lot of these fighters should just fight at where they belong. You know, you had same day weigh-ins at one point. That's gone now. That's gone. So unless the commissions and rules change where they go back to same day weigh-ins or whatever, it's here. It's always going to be this way now with boxing. It's always going to be this way. All right. It's not going to change. But there's certain circumstances like what Danny Garcia did and Lamar Peterson that I think is like way over the top, where like you guys are, all right, come on guys, you both are champions. You should be fighting at your weight defending your titles. You should be. And if you can't, just move up. There's certain circumstances, all right? Force it, take the titles, strip the titles from them, do whatever you got to do. But we know how it is. This is just part of the game. But when you're comparing eras, you have to bring this up. You have to make the argument. You can't not just ignore the argument that catch weights and weight divisions and same day weigh-ins, you can't just skip that when you're having this debate with someone. You can't. All right. So anyway, I just wanted to give you my thoughts on the catch weight issue. There's nothing that could be really done, because like I said before with Peterson and Garcia, I was mad and I didn't go to the fight. But there were people that told me, well, I don't care if they fight for the title. I just want to see the fight. Those fans win over fans like me because they just want to see the fight. I want to see the fight too, but I'm not going to spend my money on a championship fight when they're not defending their titles. Because I feel like if you're defending your title, you're fighting for something more than just a regular fight. That's just my opinion. That's the way I see it. So anyway, that concludes the video. I'll see y'all on the next one.